gosh, what a week it has been. Some late nights or some early starts with the Olympic Games happening mostly in Paris, but mostly in a different time zone to the one we're in at the moment. Glued to his screen, I imagine, my Olympic correspondent, Jono Donald from Athletes in Action. Jono, kia ora, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. What a week it's been. All kicked off with a spectacular, although to be honest, slightly weird opening ceremony on Saturday. You got up early for it, Jono?
Yeah. We got the kids up. Me and my wife were glued to the screen. Spent a good couple of hours watching a fascinating opening ceremony, really. A little bit of controversy, lots of former athletes, famous athletes, and just cool to see, the parade of athletes coming through on boats. That was
Did the
something
boats
different.
thing work for you, do you think? Because that was kind of like, okay, I get the concept, but they're all different sized boats and you can't really see, and it was a little bit weird, but maybe it's just because I'm not used to it.
I love they had the Americans on this huge barge.
Yeah.
And the French followed them on this majestic-looking ship. So, and then you had some very small countries on a little outboard boat. Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, the boat size matters, apparently, according to that. And hey, since then, of course, 1 week since I last talked to you, we've certainly got some things to celebrate. What's been the highlights of the game so far for you, Jono?
Yeah, well, last week we talked a bit about the men's sevens and the disappointment. Out before the opening ceremony, really felt sorry for those guys in a lot of ways, the work they put in. But the contrast of that was it was exciting to watch the women's sevens.
Yeah.
And they went through and just seemed to crush everyone on their way to the final, and then had a really tight final, but pulled it out, took the gold, came back to win. I was really proud, and that was amazing to see. And then actually another one that really excited me was the bronze medal playoff. Between the USA and Australia.
Okay.
And the USA scored right on full time. Last touch of the ball, 80 meters, scored a try, won the game. That was amazing to see.
Yeah.
So the sevens has been really fun. And probably a lot of people just recently watched the triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched all 1 hour, 50 minutes of it, start to finish.
Wow.
A really compelling race. Do you get to see much of that?
I just saw the highlights on this one, and look, it was touch and go, of course, and they changed the date for it. A little bit too much sewage in the river. Well, it certainly wasn't looking like the sort of place I'd like to swim. So I mean, that was a little bit of it. But in terms of the results, I mean, a medal again for New Zealand. But what a wonderful display of sportsmanship.
Yeah, that race had everything. It was really compelling. You talk about the river. I loved watching that element of the triathlon. And They started by going downstream for 400 or 500 meters. Mm-hmm. And they turned around and swam pretty much straight upstream into the river, into the teeth of it. And they were hardly moving at some points. This presented a real interesting element to the race. Coming out of the water, Hayden Wilde, the favourite, he was well back.
Yeah.
And actually, what was compelling to me was that halfway through the cycling league, his teammate at his first Olympics, much further ahead, he actually dropped back to help him claw his way back to the front.
Wow.
And then we saw the finish with the 10K run. Hayden Wilde, he pushed out in front, led for 7 kilometers and was overtaken right at the end. But yeah, you talk about that sportsmanship. He's just lost. Well, he's achieved actually an amazing thing in that silver medal. But the first thing he did was just go and congratulate his rival and his friend, and said, "Well done, you passed me at the end. Like you won." Like that's really cool to see, actually.
It is, and that his teammate, who, he probably wasn't a medal contender because the run wasn't his specialist event, but for him to say, you know what, this isn't my games, I'm going to pull back to encourage my friend to do that. Gosh, I mean, you could write a country and western song about that, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's a bit of selflessness, really.
Exactly.
It's individual, but it's a team. And actually, I'm really excited to see the mixed relay triathlon. Never even heard that was an event until a few days ago. But to see them plus the women, that's going to be an exciting race.
And a reasonably quick turnaround, a quick recovery from the men's triathlon. Okay, yep, I got the medal. Now let's focus on this new event coming up, right?
Yeah. I think it's over the weekend. I'm not 100% sure when it is, but it is coming up soon, so it'll be surely
on the schedule. Hey, interested in your thoughts on this one. I mean, swimming in a river for the swimming leg of a triathlon, how unusual is that? Because there's definitely a huge difference between upstream to downstream.
They normally swim in a pond or a lake. When I was in London at the 2012 Olympics, I actually got to see a little bit of triathlon, and there's a big park in London, and they swam in this pond. There were issues around the quality as well, but
yeah.
I just love that they swam in that river, and there was a big current going, and they weren't going to break the world record pace in those conditions, but part of me just loves to see a little bit of variety, and that's added to it, didn't it?
Yeah, no, certainly did. And hey, perhaps that will be the new standard, river swimming for your triathlon there. Hey, it's been a big night overnight as well. And look, this was coming. You know, we only had a couple of medals, but we knew that we were going to do well in the rowing, and then there's the sailing and some other ones where we're moving through the pack. But hey, fantastic results for New Zealand's rowers overnight.
Yeah, they did really well, didn't they? And I think what an achievement for the two ladies who've come back from having kids to come back and compete. And they said after the race, since they've had kids, they've never won a race.
Yeah,
what a time to win the gold at the Olympics. I mean, I just take my hat off to those ladies and just say well done. Cool to see a couple of other medals, the silver and the bronze as well. Looked like the silver, they were really pushing for gold, and so they looked a little bit disappointed.
Yep.
I'd still say well done to them. And then the ladies with the bronze, they were ecstatic.
Yeah.
They were ecstatic.
I've heard that said, actually, and wanted to get your take on this, that that the bronze is actually easier to process than the silver. Because if you get the bronze medal, you're just happy you got a medal. You're happy you're not fourth. Whereas the silver medal, yes, it's higher than the bronze, but for silver medal winners, they're always thinking, but I didn't get the gold. Talk to us about the psychology of disappointment in that. Is that a thing, silver medal disappointment?
I think so. And even the challenge, right, the fourth place person as well.
Yeah.
I had a colleague talking about, he's really into hockey, and he heard an interview with a lady who had got fourth 2 Olympics in a row.
Wow.
And she couldn't actually go through with it again, and I think had retired because she got a certificate. You know, it's like, I went to the Olympics and I got a certificate. That's really challenging. So, I mean, perspective comes into it, right? So, depending on whether you're the favorite and you're really pushing for the gold, and because we just witnessed that with New Zealand, right?
Yep.
Got a gold, we got a silver in the triathlon, and he was really happy because he gave it his all. Yeah, and he congratulated the victor, and then the other guys who were pushing for the gold, but they got silver and were disappointed. So that's the challenge of sport and competition. And I think it's a really cool thing at the Olympics that you can finish third and get a medal and be really proud of that.
Yeah. And
you see that throughout different events, just how different athletes are processing their placing and the prize that they received.
I mean, it is a difficult process, and we've talked about this beforehand. But I suppose talk to us about how Christian athletes work in this space, because it's going to be disappointing whether or not you've got a faith, but what the spiritual dimension brings to the whole competitive aspect, because I mean there's certainly Christians competing in the games this year.
Yeah, well, I've seen that actually. There's a few Christian athletes that I've been following. Like I said last week, my wife was a swimmer, and so we've been watching a lot of the swimming.
Yep. And
so there's an athlete that I didn't actually know much about him going into the games, but just have seen him compete and looked into him a little bit, a guy called Adam Peaty. He competes for Great Britain. And he was going into the games, I think he was chasing Phelps' record of winning a gold in the same event 3 Olympics in a row.
Yeah.
But he actually really struggled in between the last Olympics and this. Depression, splitting up with the mother of his son, fractured foot, battles with alcohol.
Wow.
And his faith had become really important to him. He has this tattoo on his chest called, with a cross, and not that necessarily means he's a Christian, but looking into him further, he said this, I just wrote it down to share. He said, a gold medal is the coldest thing you wear. I really didn't have a community outside of sport. Faith has helped me with my mental battles. For me, the only fulfillment and the only peace is every Sunday at church. It is those everyday prayers that keep me inspired and keep me on the right track.
Wow.
And you see a guy that's achieved so much, and yet as he's put his worth and who he is and his achievements, those things have been fleeting. And the glory of the Olympic medal, it's amazing, and we're seeing that and we're celebrating that.
Yep.
But how long does that last,
Yeah, no, that's such an important message, and like you say, even for those people who are successful, even for those people who are at some point reach the top of their game, you can't live there forever. You've got to have something of substance once the Olympics are over and done with, and hey, sometimes it takes some disappointment for us to acknowledge our need for God, for our need for Jesus in this space.
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes actually in that brokenness or even in that achievement of saying, hey, I've achieved everything, but I'm 25, 26. Yeah. Some of these guys are even a lot younger, and they've reached their pinnacle. I watched the Simone Biles doco, and she talked a bit about, achieving everything and only being 19, and just thinking, well, what else is there, I was contemplating, there's a few verses I've just been looking at with some athletes recently from John, which I would guess I was reminded of watching some of these events. And Jesus talks about living water. Yeah. So this first one, John 4, he says, anyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I give will never be thirsty again. The water I give to him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Yep. And I was struck with that watching the triathlon as they're running, and the importance of water, and they're handing out water, and they're handing out even ice packs to try to cool these guys down to get them through this event. But Jesus actually says, hey, I offer living water. Yeah. It won't just satisfy the thirst now, but welling up to eternal life. Yeah. And so I just think that, man, for me, that gives real perspective. And I still want to see athletes chasing and going after their dreams. But when they're rooted in who Jesus says they are, that helps with the highs and the lows that sport brings along,
More than just hydration. Something to help you in all of the seasons of life. Hey, Jono, thank you for what you do, the work of Athletes in Action. People can find out more at athletesinaction.org.nz. Going to be another amazing week. People staying up late, especially over the weekends. Looking forward to that, and looking forward to chatting with you next week.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe, and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.